The radio crackles to life at 1:47 p.m. on a sunny Friday afternoon. A woman's voice pierces through the static, desperate, terror-filled, barely human. "Help me! Help me!" The screams echo through the Palm Beach Zoo as 450 pounds of pure predator stands over its prey. In 17 minutes, everything will be over. But this story begins long before that final, horrifying moment, when trust turned deadly. What drives someone to dedicate their life to creatures that could kill them in seconds? To look into the eyes of a predator and see not danger, but beauty. To build a bond so deep with a wild animal that colleagues call you a whisperer? Stacy Konwiser thought she had all the answers. She believed love could conquer instinct. She trusted where others feared to tread. On April 15, 2016, that trust would cost her everything. This is the story of a woman who lived for tigers and died by one. A story that reminds us that in the wild kingdom there are no exceptions. No matter how much you love them, no matter how well you know them, they will always be wild. Stacy Konwiser was born to be around animals. Even as a little girl growing up in Ohio, she had a magnetic pull toward creatures that others found intimidating. While her friends played with dolls, Stacy rescued injured birds and befriended neighborhood cats. Her mother would often find her in the backyard, completely still, letting wild animals approach her as if she possessed some invisible gift. At 38 years old, Stacy had turned that childhood fascination into a lifelong calling. For over a decade, she had worked her way up through the ranks at the Palm Beach Zoo in West Palm Beach, Florida. She wasn't just another zookeeper. She was a specialist, a professional who understood the intricate behaviors and needs of some of the world's most dangerous predators. Her colleagues didn't just respect her, they were in awe of her. She had this incredible ability to read the cats, remembered her supervisor, Dr. Marcus Williams. Stacy could walk into a room and immediately sense the mood of every tiger in the facility. It was almost supernatural. This gift had earned her the nickname that would follow her to the grave, the Tiger Whisperer. She wore that title with immense pride. Stacy's expertise went far beyond feeding schedules and habitat maintenance. She was instrumental in the zoo's breeding programs and educational initiatives. Every week, she would lead Tiger Talks, educational presentations where visitors could learn about these magnificent predators while watching them up close. Parents would bring their children specifically to hear Stacy speak. Her passion was infectious, her knowledge encyclopedic. At home, Stacy's life revolved around conservation work. Her walls were covered with photos of tigers she had worked with over the years. Each animal had a name, a personality, a story that she could tell for hours. She volunteered with wildlife rescue organizations and donated a significant portion of her salary to tiger conservation efforts in Asia. This wasn't just her job. It was her mission, her calling, her entire identity. But perhaps what made Stacy most remarkable was her absolute fearlessness. While other keepers approached big cats with appropriate caution, Stacy moved with the confidence of someone who truly believed she belonged in their world. She had never had a close call, never been injured, never even been threatened by any of the dozens of tigers she had worked with throughout her career. Hati was not just any tiger. This 12-year-old Malayan tiger was a specimen that commanded respect, even among seasoned zoo professionals. Standing 4 feet tall at the shoulder and stretching nearly 10 feet from nose to tail, Hati weighed approximately 450 pounds of pure muscle, bone, and predatory instinct. His name, which means heart in Malay, seemed almost ironic given what was to come. Malayan tigers are among the most endangered subspecies in the world, with fewer than 300 remaining in the wild. They are also among the most powerful. A single swipe from Hati's paw could generate enough force to shatter human bones. His canine teeth measured nearly 3 inches long, perfectly designed for piercing through flesh and crushing vertebrae. When Hati moved, he moved with the fluid grace of a creature built for one purpose: killing. Hati had arrived at the Palm Beach Zoo in 2008 as part of a species survival program. For 8 years, he had been a model resident, calm during feeding times, cooperative during medical examinations, and generally predictable in his behaviors. Zoo records showed no history of aggression toward staff members. Visitors loved watching him during educational presentations,
Yes, honey.
where his
Isn't it
majestic presence
beautiful?
never failed to inspire awe. But experienced animal behaviorists knew the truth that the public rarely considered. A tiger's calm demeanor is not the same as domestication. Every day, every hour, every moment, Hati remained exactly what nature had created him to be. An apex predator, with reflexes faster than human thought and strength that could end a life in seconds. The fact that he had never attacked anyone didn't mean he couldn't. It simply meant the right circumstances had never aligned. April 15th, 2016, started like any other Friday at the Palm Beach Zoo. The morning had been routine, feeding schedules completed on time, habitats cleaned and inspected, no unusual incidents reported. Stacy arrived at work with her characteristic enthusiasm, greeting colleagues with her usual cheerful demeanor. She had a Tiger Talk presentation scheduled for 2 p.m., one of dozens she had conducted over the years. The night house, where the incident would occur, was an off-exhibit area where the tigers retreated to eat, sleep, and receive medical care. It was a behind-the-scenes facility that visitors never saw, a maze of concrete enclosures, steel doors, and security protocols designed to keep both animals and staff safe. Every door had multiple locking mechanisms. Every procedure had been practiced hundreds of times. But on this particular afternoon, something was different. Zoo security footage would later reveal that one of the enclosure doors, Hati's door, had been left unsecured. Whether it was human error, mechanical failure, or simply an oversight that happened in the split second between routine checks, investigators would never definitively determine. What mattered was that for the first time in 8 years, Hati had access to an area where he wasn't supposed to be. At 1:45 p.m., Stacy made her final routine check of the presentation area. Everything appeared normal. The large cardboard box that was used during educational demonstrations was positioned in its usual spot. The microphone was working properly. The viewing area was clean and ready for the incoming group of school children who would arrive at 2 p.m. sharp. What Stacy couldn't see, what no one could have seen from her vantage point, was that Hati had silently moved into the space behind that cardboard box. Tigers are ambush predators, evolved to approach their prey without making a sound. Even at 450 pounds, Hati could move with the stealth of a shadow, his massive paws making no noise on the concrete floor. 1:47 p.m. Stacy opens the gate to enter the presentation area, her mind focused on the upcoming Tiger Talk. She steps inside, clipboard in one hand, radio in the other. The door closes behind her with a soft click. In this moment, she believes she is alone. The attack happens faster than human perception can process. One moment, Stacy is walking toward her presentation materials. The next, 450 pounds of muscle and fury explodes from behind the cardboard box. Hati's powerful jaws clamp down on her neck before she can even register his presence. The clipboard crashes to the concrete floor. Her radio crackles to life. Her thumb has instinctively found the transmit button. "Help me!" The words tear from her throat in a voice that her colleagues will never forget. "Help me!" The radio broadcasts every terrifying second that follows. The sound of struggle, of fear, of a woman fighting for her life against impossible odds. 1:48 p.m. 3 zookeepers working in nearby areas hear the screams coming through their radios. Dr. Marcus Williams drops his paperwork and runs toward the night house. Senior keeper Janet Rodriguez abandons her lunch and sprints across the facility. Security guard Thomas Chen starts racing toward the commotion, while simultaneously calling for emergency backup. The radio continues transmitting. Colleagues can hear Stacy's desperate attempts to fend off the attack, the sounds of the struggle echoing through the concrete enclosure. Then suddenly, the radio goes silent. The transmission ends. 1:49 p.m. Dr. Williams reaches the night house first. Through the security glass, he can see Hati standing over Stacy's motionless body. The tiger is calm now, no longer in attack mode, but clearly guarding his territory. Williams immediately initiates emergency protocol, calling 911 while simultaneously attempting to lure Hati away from Stacy and into a separate enclosure. "We need paramedics at the Palm Beach Zoo immediately," Williams tells the 911 operator, his voice shaking. "We have a zookeeper down. Tiger attack. She's not moving." The next 15 minutes become a desperate race against time. Zoo staff use every technique they know to convince Hati to move away from Stacy's body. They try favorite treats, familiar voices, anything that might appeal to his training. But Hati remains where he is, occasionally looking up at the humans gathering outside his enclosure, but showing no signs of aggression or agitation. 2:04 p.m. 17 minutes after the attack began, zoo officials make the decision to use a tranquilizer dart. The dart strikes Hati in the shoulder, and within minutes, the massive tiger begins to show signs of sedation. As he becomes drowsy and disoriented, he finally moves away from Stacy, retreating to a corner of the enclosure where he lies down. The moment Hati is sufficiently sedated, paramedics rush into the enclosure. What they find is devastating. Stacy is unconscious and has suffered massive trauma to her neck and spine. Her injuries are immediately recognizable as life-threatening, but the paramedic team begins emergency treatment protocols anyway. "We've got severe trauma to the cervical spine, and what appears to be arterial damage," the lead paramedic radios to the incoming helicopter. "Patient is unresponsive. We need immediate transport to Trauma 1. 2:07 p.m. Stacy is loaded onto a stretcher and rushed to the helipad where a medical helicopter is waiting. The flight to St. Mary's Medical Center takes only 8 minutes, but for the medical team working to keep her alive, every second stretches into eternity. They perform CPR continuously during transport, pushing medications, trying desperately to restore vital signs that have already begun to fade. At the hospital, a trauma team is waiting. Dr. Elizabeth Morrison, the chief trauma surgeon, later described the injuries as devastating and incompatible with survival. The tiger's powerful jaws had crushed Stacy's cervical vertebrae and severed her jugular vein. Despite the medical team's heroic efforts, Stacy Konwiser was pronounced dead at 2:31 p.m., just 44 minutes after she had walked into that enclosure for what should have been a routine preparation. The news of Stacy's death sent shockwaves through the zoological community and beyond. Within hours, media crews surrounded the Palm Beach Zoo, and the story began spreading across social media platforms worldwide. The woman who had dedicated her life to protecting endangered tigers had become their victim in the most tragic way imaginable. The Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission launched an immediate investigation. Security footage was reviewed frame by frame. Every protocol was examined. Every staff member was interviewed. The preliminary findings were devastating in their simplicity. A single unlocked door had created the perfect storm for tragedy. "This was a workplace accident involving a wild animal," stated FWC spokesperson Karen Parker. "At no point was the public in any danger, and the animal exhibited natural predatory behavior when it encountered a human in its territory." The question that haunted everyone was whether Hati should be euthanized. Animal rights activists argued that the tiger was simply being a tiger, that he shouldn't be punished for following millions of years of evolutionary programming. Others, including some of Stacy's own family members, agreed that Hati should be spared. Stacy wouldn't want the tiger to die because of this, her sister told reporters. She understood the risks. She knew that this was always a possibility. The Palm Beach Zoo ultimately decided that Hati would not be euthanized. He remained at the facility, though new protocols were immediately implemented to prevent any similar incidents. Every door now requires two-person verification before opening. Every enclosure entry requires radio confirmation with a central dispatcher. But for Stacy's colleagues, no amount of new safety measures could erase the trauma of that afternoon. Many of them struggled with survivor's guilt, wondering if they could have done something differently, moved faster, made different decisions in those crucial minutes. The sound of her voice on the radio, those final desperate calls for help, would haunt them for years to come. Today, if you visit the Palm Beach Zoo, you can still see Hati in his habitat, He appears calm, majestic, and utterly indifferent to the tragedy that made him infamous. Visitors take photos and marvel at his beauty, most of them unaware that they are looking at the animal that killed the woman who loved tigers more than her own safety. Stacy Konwiser's story serves as a sobering reminder that wild animals, no matter how familiar they seem, remain fundamentally wild. Her expertise, her passion, her years of experience, none of it could change the basic truth that a tiger's instincts will always supersede any bond formed with humans. In that split second when Hati's predatory programming activated, 8 years of peaceful coexistence became irrelevant. The tiger whisperer believed she could bridge the gap between human and animal. She thought love and understanding could overcome millions of years of evolution. On April 15, 2016, she learned, in the most tragic way possible, that some gaps can never be bridged. Some whispers can never be heard above the roar of nature's most fundamental truth. In the wild kingdom, there are no exceptions. The last sound on Stacy's radio transmission wasn't a roar or a growl. It was silence. The silence that follows when the whispering finally stops.